In this practice of compassion, let's begin with calming the body, maybe with a couple big breaths. Letting your mind settle and be present. Feeling your body and opening your heart. Caring flowing out and flowing in. I'll suggest a variety of people to practice compassion for. And you can apply these approaches as well to pets and other non-human animals, and apply them to types of people I don't happen to mention. And of course, as with any practice, adapt my suggestions to what works for you. Sometimes when we try to cultivate things, nothing comes, and that's okay. You can come back to it later, perhaps. And also, even if nothing comes in the beginning, often if we just stick with it, something begins to open up inside and feel real. First, bring to mind someone that for you is easy to have compassion for. Could be a friend, a child, someone else. And get a sense of the life they have. And in particular, how it's challenging for them. Getting a sense of their stresses, losses, burdens, pains, upsets. In a word, they're suffering. And as you have a feeling for their suffering, also be aware of supportive feelings from you toward them. The wish that they not suffer. Mainly be aware of an outflowing from you of goodwill toward them, sympathy, concern, caring. Opening to and resting in a feeling of compassion for them. If your mind wanders, coming back to the compassion, in effect, meditating on compassion. And as you focus on compassion, there could be a sense of compassion sinking into you, becoming you. A sense of your heart opening and you becoming more compassionate. Let's try this with another person, someone you respect a lot, someone who's been helpful to you. Being aware of some of their own pain, difficulty, even just the inherent human difficulties in having a body that ages, that's vulnerable, living in the wider world. And as you find empathy for their suffering broadly, also find compassion. Perhaps with soft thoughts such as, "May you not suffer." Or soft thoughts that are more specific, such as, "May you recover from this illness." "May you be at peace with this loss." "May you be truly happy." Be aware of what it's like to be compassionate. Let's pick a different person, a friend. Thinking about a friend, being aware of their suffering, their stresses, their losses, their pains, their concerns. And as you feel their suffering, find compassion for it. Compassion is real, even if we cannot change the suffering. We can still have tender-hearted sympathy and respect and support for people who are suffering. We can wish for their suffering to ease, even if it won't. Perhaps thinking for your friend, "May you not suffer." And now, let's pick another person, in this case, yourself. We've explored self-compassion previously, just touching it here, being aware of some of your own issues, your own sadness or hurt, fears, angers, stresses, pains, and finding compassion for yourself. Wishing yourself well. If you like, thinking may I not suffer. We're thinking something more specific, such as, may I be free of this pain? Or may I be at peace with this loss? Or anything else that's helpful for you. Okay. Next, a member of your family, in whatever sense you like. It might be a complex relationship, and focus on the suffering of this person. Have a sense of their suffering, having empathy for it. And with that empathy for their suffering, waves of compassion for them, honest wishes that they not suffer. Perhaps with other things mingled, such as lovingness or kindness. You can strengthen the sense of compassion sometimes with a hand on your heart or a hand on your cheek. Opening to compassion, giving over to it, letting compassion fill your mind. Okay, another person, a distant acquaintance, someone you know a little bit, you might like a little bit, you don't know well, just getting a sense of how life is for them. You don't need to know people really super well to just know that there are ways that life is hard for everyone, one way or another. And mobilizing compassion for them. Finding genuine good wishes for them. You might have a sense or an image of compassion rippling out from you, radiating, spreading toward this distant acquaintance. Then let's try a stranger. Uh, Imagine someone walking past you, or someone you've seen recently, perhaps someone who lives near you or works near you, and you know that they exist, but they're otherwise a stranger to you. Can you find compassion for them? Maybe imagining some of the universal issues we all face, or perhaps some sense you have of them from looking at their face or knowing a little bit about their life, getting a sense of their suffering. And finding compassion for them, wishing that their suffering would ease. And then someone who is mildly challenging for you. Challenging, but not overwhelmingly so. Pick someone like that, remembering that you can have compassion for someone who you don't agree with, or you're in a conflict with, or maybe don't like. You can have compassion for them while also being assertive and having compassion for yourself. You can have compassion for them even if you think in some ways it's their own fault, their own suffering. Knowing the morality of compassion in general, and also particularly the ways that compassion frees us up in relationship to everyone, including challenging people. So, with this in mind, being aware of some of their suffering. You could name it to yourself about them, such as pain, illness, emotional issues, conflicts with others, or anything really specific. Knowing their suffering. It is what it is in its own right. And then, if you can, finding compassion for it. Maybe beginning with the simple wish, may you not suffer so much. It's okay if it happens to arise in your mind the thought that if they didn't suffer so much, they might treat other people better. That's okay. Keeping it simple, focusing on empathy for their suffering and your own sincere wish that they not suffer so much. Perhaps also with some warmth, at least for their suffering. It might help to have a sense of deeper layers inside them, younger layers that are hurting inside. It might also help to have a sense of some of the vast and many factors in the world today and in the past that have led the person to act the ways that they've acted. That kind of big picture perspective can support feelings of compassion for people who are challenging to us. And then, how about someone who's even more challenging for you? Who's perhaps impacted you in even more significant ways keeping it simple, not getting hijacked by the whole complex history or story. And if you get swept away by distracting feelings, just disengage and choose someone who's easier to have compassion for. But if you can, stay with a sense of this person who's really quite challenging for you and their suffering. Their own fears, contractions, pains, maybe an awareness of some of the suffering they will face inevitably, as we all do, including maybe toward the end of their own life. Having a feeling for their suffering. And then finding compassion for it. Perhaps simply the wish that they not suffer so much. Finding whatever is authentic that you can. You might feel an easing of your own upsets with them as your heart opens. You might have a sense of compassion flowing out from you for them, easing you, calming you, centering you as compassion flows out from you for this quite challenging person. Disentangling the simple sense of compassion for them from other things, such as compassion for yourself or other people that this difficult person has impacted. Disentangling these elements and focusing on compassion for this challenging person. And then letting go of this challenging person and last, picking one last person to have compassion for. Could also be a group of people, could be a pet or other non-human animals. As you like, pick someone else. Be aware of their challenges, their suffering. And have compassion for it. Sincerely wish that it ease. Perhaps also with warm-hearted feelings of sympathy, tenderness, kindness, loyalty, love. Having the sense of compassion spreading inside you, a sense of becoming compassionate, more and more compassionate, just as your nature. a sense increasingly of being compassion. Then letting go of anyone in particular and getting a sense of just simply abiding as compassion and perhaps related feelings of kindness, supportiveness, even love. Spreading compassion in all directions. Radiating outward from you, maybe with a sense of it in your heart. Enjoying compassion. Being compassion. Spreading in all directions. Wishing that beings not suffer. Opening into compassion. Being compassion. Coming home to compassion.